Hello everyone, it's wonderful to be with you all today, and I just love the idea behind this summit about shifting the paradigm. And I've been doing a little bit of thinking about what does this really mean and how do we do it? Well, first of all, I think to create a movement on a global scale, you really need to reach out and to engage people in powerful positions. And we're doing that already because we have a fabulous network here of financial institutions. We are focusing very much with the fintechs in this particular summit, and the fintechs are really changing the pace of many things we do in this space, building an interconnected world. And of course, it's really important to be interfacing with different regulators, governments around the world, which I know all of you do as members. What I would say is it would be fantastic if you could all reach out in your own countries, in your own markets, and encourage more people to join our alliance. Because the stronger our movement is, the more impact we will have on the world. So having reached the influencers, what's next? Well, the next thing is to really set those aspirational goals that will change the world. And what do I mean by aspirational goals? Well, if I think about my own company, we declared that we would bring an extra 500 million people into the financial system in between 2015 and today. And I'm so pleased we've achieved that target. But now we're moving one step further and we're bringing in an extra 500 million. So we're going for 1 billion in total. And remember, women are much more financially excluded than men. So we can, without doubt, assume that many of these people we're bringing into the financial system are indeed women. Another thing that we thought was, why don't we actually push out to reach an extra 50 million SMEs, small business owners, because they are the people that are driving the economy. And when we looked at that, we said in the normal course of business, about 1/3 of these would be women. But instead of just sitting on our laurels and going for 1/3, we said, why don't we try and shift that paradigm and go for 50% women? So that's exactly what we're doing. We're focusing on bringing in 50 million SMEs, but 25 million of those we want to be women-led and women-owned companies. And in my night role, where I'm also the chair of the 30% Club, an aspirational goal that all the CEOs and the chairman of the 30% Club sign up to do is to have over 30% women on their managing boards and 30% women on their executive committees. And by the way, the 30% Club is in over 14 countries around the world and is aiming to be in all G20 countries. And in some cases, we've achieved those targets, but in many cases in the world, there are much less than 30% women on boards and much less than 30% women in management, senior management positions, as we know. So these are aspirational goals, and they're really worth going for. And how are we going to check whether we've achieved them? Well, obviously, data, tracking, actually reporting things can be really important. In my own company, we actually have started to report our gender pay gap. And actually, women are paid 92%. The gender pay gap is the difference between what all the average amount of men are paid in the company and the same number for the women. Now, if you have more senior men than women, then there will be a gap in that number. And the gap for us is 8% on a global basis. Now, that's not to say that we don't pay men and women equally. We actually pay exactly the same amount of money for women doing the same job in the company that men are doing, regardless of where those women are working around the world. So that's dollar for dollar. But the gender gap, as I said, is a reflection of more senior men in the company. But the fact that we've actually published that to the market is a great thing, because when a big company publishes something, they always try and improve on it every year. The other things that you can measure, and this must be so relevant to many of you here today, are the number of women in your portfolio. How many women have got bank accounts? It's much less than men around the world. The number of women-led businesses that you're working with as customers, or perhaps the number of led women businesses that you have in your supply chain. By using what we have in our business community to actually create equality, we can together really change the world. And we can also help women to be prepared for that change. And we can start when they're really young, for example, through education. I know in MasterCard, we actually focus on girls of around 12 years old, and we teach them about how great the technology industry is, trying to encourage them to keep up their science subjects at school so that they can eventually join a tech company. We've done that with 1 million girls around the world now, and we have a new target of 5 million girls in the next few years. The other thing that you can do is mentorship schemes, sponsorship schemes. I know at the 30% Club, we have a cross-company mentorship scheme across the whole of Britain, and there's something like 2,500 people involved in this, where a woman in one company can be actually mentored by a man, often a man, or a woman in another company, getting her ready for board positions, executive level positions. And these are very, very successful schemes. Other things we can do are invest in women, and you're going to be hearing about that later in the summit. And also, we can actually think about funding women. Many of you are providing loans to women. You know that women repay loans at a better rate than men around the world. There's data to show that. But many of the women entrepreneurs and the small businesses, or the women founders of bigger businesses, still struggle to get the funding that they need. And this is where the big investment community really needs to step up. And just to conclude, why are we doing all of this? Is it because we just think that we just generally want the world to be a fairer place? Well, actually, we do. Why wouldn't we want that? But we're also doing it because it just makes business sense. McKinsey have shown that companies that are more diverse at the top of their company are in the top quartile, are outperforming those in the fourth quartile by 21%, and their businesses are much more sustainable. They've also shown that if we can really empower women to take their place in the global economy, we would add $28 trillion to the world's GDP. There's never been a better time to invest in women. There's never been a better time to actually look at the way that we're working and say, what can we do better? Let's actually have a completely different business model. Let's really include women in an equal way around the world for the future. And with that, I'm just really thrilled to have you here with us and wish you a fantastic conference. I know I'm going to enjoy it. Thank you very much.